First, I need to show you this tape. Nancy Pelosi on Tara Reade versus Christine Blasey Ford. So here's what she had to say about Christine Blasey Ford back when Justice Kavanaugh was being questioned. Remember, the phrase credibly accused was being thrown around a lot. Credibly accused. Have you heard credibly accused about Tara Reade? There is more evidence that Tara Reade actually has been telling the same story for 30 years than there ever was that Christine Blasey Ford was telling the truth. Tara Reade is a much more credible witness than Christine Blasey Ford. Flat out. Christine Blasey Ford made an allegation and not a single thing that she said was verifiable. None of it. Tara Reade at least can point to a bunch of people. She said, I told them at the time, right? So here is Nancy Pelosi suggesting that Christine Blasey Ford should be believed, that Justice Kavanaugh was probably a rapist. And then we'll hear her on Tara Reade. And suffice it to say, she is not consistent.
There's been statements from his campaign, or not his campaign, but his former employees who ran his offices and the rest, that there was never any record of this.
Instead of asking questions, the Republican leadership fears the truth.
There was never any record, and that nobody ever came forward, or nobody...
Really? They're so afraid of the truth, and they're so afraid of a woman, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, for the truth that she will tell.
Wow. So that's what she had to say about Christine Blasey Ford way back when. Tara Reade, very different story. Yesterday, Pelosi was asked about this.
I respect your question, and I don't need a lecture or a speech. Here's the thing. I have complete respect for the whole Me Too movement. I have 4 daughters and 1 son, and there's a lot of excitement around the idea that women will be heard and be listened to. There is also due process, and the fact that Joe Biden is Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden is Joe Biden. So this was trending yesterday. Joe Biden is Joe. First of all, Joe Biden is Joe Biden. I just don't know if Joe Biden knows that anymore. Really, the man is not with us. But Joe Biden is Joe Biden. Isn't that exactly the case that was being made for Brett Kavanaugh? People were saying, well, here's a bunch of women that Brett Kavanaugh knew who never could imagine that he would do anything like this. People were saying, well, that's not good evidence. That you can't say that. Those aren't the women making the accusations. Joe Biden is not a defense. And so Joe Biden appears on Morning Joe, presumably because he thinks he's going to get a fairly warm treatment. After all, Mika and Joe are not exactly warm to President Trump these days. Instead, Mika Brzezinski clocked him with just a cartoon mallet. She went directly at him, and she asked precisely the kinds of questions that Democrats were asking about Brett Kavanaugh. And by the way, people who are angry at Mika, you should have been angry when Democrats were asking this stuff about Brett Kavanaugh or about Donald Trump. At least Mika Brzezinski is holding to a consistent standard. Now, I think the standard is stupid, by the way. I don't think the standard should be, if you are asked about an allegation, you say the allegation is false, you now have to justify why you say the allegation is false. But if someone accuses you of rape and you say that never happened, you then do not have to say, but the woman's story, we should totally take her story seriously. You're allowed to say, no, that story's complete crap. Sorry. I don't know why she would do that. The story's it's garbage, and I'm angry that I've been accused of something I didn't do. That is called a normal human reaction. And the fact that we live in a stupid time where if you are accused of a crime that you did not commit, you are supposed to be in some way tolerant of the person who is making the accusation is insane. I mean, the standard itself is stupid. That was the standard set by Democrats. Okay, so Mika Brzezinski actually holds the same standard for Brett Kavanaugh. And Joe Biden can't hold up to the standard. You know why? Not because Joe Biden is guilty, but because no one can hold up to the standard because the standard's idiotic. The standard is moronic from the very start. The standard that if I, Ben Shapiro, were accused of sexual assault and I said, are you insane? Are you an insane person? I'm an Orthodox Jew. I've only had sex with one person in my entire life and I'm married to her and it was after I was married to her. Are you out of your damn mind? And whoever makes that accusation is scurrilous. It's disgusting. And if I were to say that, people are like, oh, you're not respecting the woman. Why the hell should I respect someone who's making a false accusation about me? Right? It's an idiotic standard. But that is the standard Democrats are using. You have to believe all women, even if you're the one who knows it's not true. So no one can hold up to that standard. And predictably enough, Joe Biden, who held that standard, doesn't hold up to the standard, which is why, again, it was a terrible appearance by Joe Biden for a couple of reasons. We'll get to those in just one second. The biggest reason, because anybody who's asked these questions cannot answer them. Basically, Mika Brzezinski asked Joe Biden, Senator, when did you stop beating your wife? That's the famous sort of formulation of questions that cannot be answered. When did you stop beating your wife, right? Because the implication is, of course, that you started beating your wife. The question itself is the condemnation. We'll get to that in just one second. Mika asks him a couple of different lines. One is, so Joe, you used to say, believe all women. You said that you thought that Christine Blasey Ford was credibly accusing Brett Kavanaugh. Well, what happened? Why shouldn't we hold you to the same standard? And here was Joe Biden's answer.
From the very beginning, I've said believing women means taking the woman's claims seriously when she steps forward and then vet it, look into it. That's true in this case as well. Women have a right to be heard, and the press should rigorously investigate claims they make. I'll always uphold that principle. But in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is the claims are false.
So he says that my standard was that we should rigorously investigate anything and the claims are false. That was not his standard. This was not his standard. He says, I'm saying unequivocally it never happened. It didn't. It never happened. But again, the reality is that Joe Biden did not hold that standard until 5 seconds ago. Joe Biden has completely shifted his standard. His standard was, I think that if a woman makes an accusation, then we will believe her. But now it's, unless it's me, in which case you should totally fully investigate this. Here's what Biden said in 2018. For a woman to come forward in the glaring lights of focus nationally, you've got to start off with the presumption that at least the essence of what she's talking about is real, whether or not she forgets facts, whether or not it's been made worse or better over time. So Brzezinski asked, is the essence of what she is saying real? Why do you think she's doing this? And Biden says, I'm not going to question her motive. I'm not going to get into that at all. I don't know why she's saying this. I don't know why after 27 years, all of a sudden this gets raised. I don't understand that. But I'm not going to go in and question her motive. I'm not going to attack her. She has the right to say whatever she wants to say, but I have a right to say, look at the facts, check it out, find out if what she says is true. Brzezinski then followed up. She says, as it pertained to Christine Blasey Ford, high-level Democrats said she should be believed. You said if someone like Dr. Ford were to come out, the essence of what she is saying has to be believed. Why? Why is it real for Dr. Ford but not for Tara Reade? And Biden says, I'm not suggesting she has no right to come forward. Any woman, they should be heard, and then it should be investigated. And if there's anything that is consistent with what's being said, and she makes the case or the case is made, it should be believed. But only the truth matters. Again, he is now shifting back to due process, which should have been the original standard. But the problem is that was never his standard. No one can, the point of this, no one can uphold the standards that Democrats set for Brett Kavanaugh. And this is the point many of us were making at the time, that you have set a bar that is impossible to surpass. It is impossible. It is literally the guilt is the accusation, because believe all women have to be taken seriously no matter how outlandish their claims, no matter if they're claiming that Brett Kavanaugh was lining up women and boofing them in high school, and that boof actually meant not getting drunk, but raping people, right? The whole thing was ridiculous. And Joe Biden held by that. Okay, so now he is shifting his standard, which makes him look pretty bad because, again, the standard was never capable of being upheld. And maybe Democrats are willing to allow this sort of shifting standard, and maybe it's better for the world if we go back to a rational standard. I think it is. But let's just acknowledge what happened here, that the Democrats shifted their standard from Nina Burleigh's Time magazine piece in which she claimed that she would perform a Lewinsky on Bill Clinton in order to maintain the propriety of abortion. Right? They moved from, we don't care about sexual assault if it's a Democrat, to every woman must be believed when it was Donald Trump who was in the crosshairs. And then they moved from that to, it'd be great, due process when it's Joe Biden back in the crosshairs. So just understand, there are no standards for Democrats. None. I've held the same standard all the way through. Allegations have to be substantiated by actual evidence. That should be the standard for all of these things, should it not?